And I don't know if you know this, but one of my viewers on my channel every day is actually my mother. My mother will watch this video, which is quite
Love
an honor
it.
and fun. So, Dorothy, mom, thank you for watching. Thank you for all you
Hi,
do.
Dorothy.
But one of the things I want to talk about is something she has been pushing me for 4 years now. I don't think big. I execute. I move forward. Everybody on the channel knows, but she thinks big. And she's like, Michael, and she says this in lots of different ways, but the gist of it is you're helping grow the middle class. That's what one rental at a time is. You're helping grow the middle class. You're protecting what makes America great, which I have a very hard time accepting. I don't see it that way. I'm just like I'm a hammer swinging, hitting a nail. That's all I'm trying to do. But she thinks bigger. But I want to talk to you about the middle class because I think they have been hit really hard, potentially be going to be hit harder if the recession comes as I fear it might. But I want to talk to you about what is hurting the middle class the most. Is it inflation? Is it the Fed? Is it something else? What do you think is really crushing the middle class?
First, I'll say inflation. Um, what the Fed is doing has not significantly impacted the middle class yet, in my opinion. Partially because what they've primarily done is raise interest rates, and most of the middle class is already in homes with an interest rate below 4%, and their mortgage payment isn't changing much. And so, unless they're renting, now if they're renting, then raising rates is also causing mortgages to go up, which causes your rents to go up. Then yes, you can say the Fed has an impact. But I think over the last year and a half or so, inflation has probably hit the middle class harder than the Fed has in particular.
Yeah. So I think that's right. I think inflation is, and again, we've been talking about inflation for 2 years now, right? And it's funny. I have a video on the second day of California lockdown, basically saying, "Get ready, inflation's coming," because they're going to bail this thing out. Which I love. I love that I have that
Yeah,
receipt that I can go back and point to. But yeah, inflation
absolutely.
is something that hits everyone. And in economics, which is a degree that I have, you learn that it's a regressive tax. Very few
Mhm.
people know what that really means until it hits you. That a regressive tax means it hurts the bottom more than the top because they don't have
Yes.
any margin of safety. So, um, yeah, I think inflation is that it's termites in the foundation. It's cancer. It's whatever you want to call it. It is bad.
Absolutely. And it's through every aspect of our daily lives, right? So we have food inflation. Grocery bills are up, double in some areas. We have energy inflation, and that makes the cost of goods and services go up. And so we're really hit on all four of the core inflation measures, everybody. And so I think to your point, when you're upper class, you usually have investable dollars to go in and try to make some money to match inflation or get loans that push the inflation, loss onto the banks instead of to you. But the middle class who's, working maybe one or two jobs, have good incomes, but they don't really have a lot of assets and other means of cash flow. Their expenses have gone up significantly over the last 2 years, and this was, before the Fed even started their interest rate increases.
Yeah. So this, again, this is probably not a popular belief, but this is what I believe, and I believe Powell and his cronies understand that. I think they understand it's a regressive tax. I think I
For
think
sure.
they I think they feel terrible. And I think what they have chosen to do, and I think Powell
I think
said
Powell
this
said this.
at Jackson Hole. Basically, I'm gonna hurt the investor next. That's who I'm gonna hurt. I'm gonna take rates
Yeah.
up. I'm gonna cause an earnings recession. I'm gonna cause mortgage or the real estate market to crash 40% in transactions. I'm gonna do what I can to cause that to be hurt, so that we can break the back of inflation. And it's going to take time. It is not going to be fun. He's going to be evil, number one most hated person, and he knows that.
Right.
Uh, but it takes time, right? He started, he's already up 450 basis points. He's probably going up at least another 50, maybe another 100. The pain's coming because he knows he has to break it. He has to break inflation. That's what I think's going
Right.
on.
And the difficult thing with that, I would not want to be in Powell's shoes. I will say that. And
No.
the more data that, comes out and shows that inflation is, quote, stickier than everybody thought it was in many different aspects, the harder he feels he has to push, even though
Yes.
a lot of the inflation is really beyond their control. But the hard thing, to your point, is they are going after wages. And so over the long term, they know inflation hurts, and so they want to stop it. But in the short term, when you're raising rates and you cause these earnings recessions, employers start to lay off. And we've seen that a ton, especially in the tech and the financial world. And that is causing people to get pay cuts. It's causing people to lose jobs. And it's the middle class that's going to lose a lot of jobs and be hurt, not only have high inflation, but at the same time, potentially, lose their jobs or have to take pay cuts. And so it will hurt the middle class, even though it's what we see in the media is hurting the corporations and the corporate
Mm.
profits and the market. In my view, it's kind of about time, that they're not bailing the markets out, but they're
Yep.
they're thinking more maybe about the people. But the sad thing is unemployment is going to rise. And so the
Mm.
middle class, I think, is going to be hurting from pandemic to inflation and then to recession. And it's going to take a couple of years before things start to stabilize. The last point on that is that if property values come down, which we've done a lot of shows on, may or may not, depending on where you are, but a lot of the middle class, their only real net worth, Michael, is in their 401k and in their own home. And so if the 401k values are crushed, which they're being crushed, it wipes out a lot of their net worth. And if their home values go down, that is also the other part of their net worth. And so I think you could have a triple whammy for the middle class of lost income and lost, 401k retirement values and lost property values. And so, you've really got to think about, how else can I make more money? How else can I find assets that are going to allow me to, increase my net worth when things do come back? So the middle class is definitely struggling. And I unfortunately think that no matter what the Fed does, they're going to struggle a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think we're going through, part of the business cycle um, that happens. And unfortunately,
Yeah,
when you create a fake economy for 2 years, the hangover is going to be pretty nasty.
right.
Um, as I've said, and I think you would agree, you can really make some big moves in a recession. You get assets on sale
Yes,
and discount, and you get very creative with how you structure deals. And I think there's plenty of opportunity to come where there's great pain, there's great opportunity.
right,
Um, I think unemployment the last read was 3.4%. I think there's every chance in the world it goes north of 4, maybe 4.5. But that
right.
still means 95.5% of those are employed.
Yes,
So you do have choices. So you can go back to the episode where we talked about getting your first 10 or 100 or $1 million. I hope folks take that opportunity. Now, some of you watching this may unfortunately lose your job. I hope you get a great severance and you find another one quickly. But most of you won't. The
right.
numbers say 95 to 98% of the people watching this won't lose your job. You won't be impacted by this.
And
So
that's
what do
so
you,
important, kind of going back to, video number two, where we talk about, are you glass half full or glass half empty? If you're just looking at the doom and gloom of the news, or you hear, yes, the middle class is impacted in all these three ways, it can be deflating. But if you turn that on its head and say, hey, 95% chance I'm going to keep my job, 95% chance I'm still going to be okay. You realize that you have choices to make, and you don't have to just be a victim of passively waiting to see what happens with your income, with your assets, with your network. You know that these things are going against you. So you have to say, what am I going to do about it? Am I
Mhm.
just going to let it happen, or am I going to fight against it in my own personal economy? And that's really where I had to, kind of put on my big girl panties, as we say in the South, after 2009, and say, oh my gosh, I never thought that, I might lose my job and my 401k could be almost depleted and a business might be struggling. Am I just going to let it happen, or am I going to make a choice to say, with my time and with my money, I'm going to try to find ways to create opportunity and to get back some of that lost income and back some of that net worth? And so real estate is really what allowed me to do that, and why I want to encourage, as you do too, our listeners, that this isn't a time to say, oh, woe is me. It's to say, okay, what options are available to me today? And especially if there's a fire sale on some real estate, that you can create opportunity, get out there and start doing the work and create that opportunity, because you may have better opportunity in this next year or two until things stabilize, to buy assets cheaply and to ride the next cycle up and create tremendous wealth if you start today when everybody else is afraid.
Yeah, I got to tell people that now's the time to do the work. For in real estate, it's very simple. Get a buy box, learn average, only do great deals, don't
Yeah.
gamble, no speculation, 30-year fixed rate debt, cash flow day one. But you could be a stock person, you could be buy a business, you could start
Right.
create a side hustle. Recessions are where you build wealth.
Yes.
It's where you become a millionaire. Don't be afraid
Absolutely.
of it. Welcome it. Do the work. If you are unfortunately one of the 3 to 5% that get hit, get another job. That's why you have emergency funds. These recession is not to be feared. It's to be
Hmm.
respected, right? Don't do anything stupid that busts you out with, short-term debt or whatever. But let's go. Let's get through this. Let's be stronger in the middle class, and let's go become wealthy. So I'm excited for
Absolutely.
what's coming. And I just wish more people would be respectful but excited. I think that's how I would treat a recession. You got to respect it because you just never know when you get tapped on the shoulder to be
Absolutely.
impacted. But for most of us, it's time to go. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, don't take huge risk, cut out expenses where you can, get leaner, start saving some money, and then, be ready for opportunity. And so, I'm excited as well. Yes, yes, it's hard to stay focused when you hear, turn off the social media and the news if all you're hearing is negative, and start, listening to Michael and I and those like us that are saying, hey, what's the positive that comes out of this? Because really, you are a factor of what you put into your mind, and what you focus on. And, if you focus on, I'm going to grow, you're going to see opportunity everywhere. If you
Yeah,
focus on, I'm afraid, you're going to see risk everywhere and you're not going to do anything.
there you go. Well, something you could do, folks, is you could follow Anna Kelly because she is positive force in this universe. How should they follow you?
Great. You can follow me on social media at Anna Kelly, REI Mom, my website, reimom.com, and here on your channel every week.
There you go. Thanks, Anna.